Bitcoin is, I always say this, Bitcoin is not an investment scheme. So, personal standpoint, I lost all my Bitcoins in a boating accident. So,
Huh?
it's all done. Yeah. It fell out of the boat and it's in the ocean. So, wala na. Wala
Huh?
na ang Bitcoin. I heard about it going to 200 and then crashing to 50 in April. It was around this time. And I was able to buy 1.49 or 1.47 BTC. So the price was like 9,000 pesos per Bitcoin. So it took 3 years. And during that time, we were trying out different services, remittance services, exchange services, wallet services. There was no regulation. We were talking to the DSP. We were trying to get regulated. We only got our license in 2017. So it was only in the second bull run did, did we get the first license from the BSP. It took us 3 years to get one. It wasn't just, about buying Bitcoin, investing. During the bear market, we were also running a startup that was bootstrapped, self-funded for the first 2.5 years until we got an investment from Kakao in 2016, late 2016. Yeah, so it wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna put all my money into Bitcoin now and I'm gonna get rich in like a few years. There was no mentality like that. And actually, there was a time when I had the realization that you know the you're in it for the tech, right? Because
Hmm.
if you thought about, oh, this is gonna make me rich, it wasn't very obvious back then. It
What?
was really like it was
This
tough.
is, you're talking about 2016 to 2016.
2014, 15,
Okay.
16, to
Okay.
17. So by the time 17 came, and it went from 1K to 20K in that year, right? That was when I started accumulating for real, like a lot more.
Okay.
But
Okay.
but during that time, I was living off of the money, or by selling. I was selling Bitcoin. You'd be surprised. I was like paying my credit card bills. I would sell 5 Bitcoins, to pay my credit card bill.
Hmm.
It was a tough time. Like, it was a tough time to ride out that kind of bear market. And then you have to go through it again in 2018, 2019, 2020. So yeah, it was a tough time.
There's another side of it that really don't want to sell, pero you sold it out of practicality kasi kailangan mo rin
Yeah.
talaga
I always
ibenta
thought
yung
I could buy again. I always thought I could buy again.
okay.
So I would be like, okay, I would sell and then I would buy again. I would have Bitcoins again. I would make people pay me in Bitcoin. I would, and then if I needed money, I would sell it again. So
Okay.
it was really being used as money.
Fast forward to 2023, it's far from the all-time high, but it's far from the first price that you actually bought also. Uh,
Yeah.
and to siguro this will be two-pronged. What's your strategy now given that you had positions early on and you also were exposed when it was higher? Then the second one is what should people do that are maybe they heard about this ngayon pa lang or they heard about it last year and they were able to come in at 20 or they came in at 69,000 in 2021. What would be your approach to that? So first one is from a personal standpoint, then second one is para sa mga tao na they're at different stages of entry also.
So, personal standpoint, I lost all my Bitcoins in a boating accident. So
Huh?
it's all done. Yeah. It fell out of the boat and it's in the ocean. So wala na. Wala
Huh?
na ang Bitcoin. It's a joke.
Kala ko, pero tatanong ko hindi mo binackup kasi may kilala ako hindi niya binackup yung ano niya eh.
Hindi mo ba alam yung ano? Don't you know the joke about the boating accident?
Ano mo totoo yung
Hindi, kasi, okay, so, you don't want people to know you have Bitcoin, right? In all seriousness, I always say this, Bitcoin is not an investment scheme. It's not a way to get rich quick. It's, you know, it's a lot of things to a lot of people, but if you're thinking of investing as into Bitcoin as part of a portfolio of investments that you already have, then it's number one, it's a good hedge, diba? It's a good diversification. It's like a uncorrelated asset. So it's nice to have a percentage of your portfolio in that. But if you were like me, and I'm saying this from, what 10 years ago when I was starting out, I was not a sophisticated investor. I was not. I was just like a normal guy. I didn't invest in stocks. I didn't do any of these things. I had no clue. And Bitcoin actually changed my mindset about money, about how it works, and about how it's like actually you put your time and energy into it, and it stores that value that you put out into the world into this thing, money, right? So for me, Bitcoin has always been the best way to store my time and energy over time. The proof is in the pudding, as the saying goes. Over the last 10 years, it was the best way to save money. I also tried to invest in other things. I bought some other assets. I bought something. Oh, buy this watch; it will appreciate in value. Okay, it did, but I, in 2018, I bought a watch for 1 Bitcoin, and now I could buy 5 of those watches with 1 Bitcoin. In terms of am I saying it's gonna keep happening for the next 10 years? Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? But the history for me has shown that if I save in Bitcoin, then it would have been the best way to save my money, to store the value of my money, to keep the value over time. If you bought Bitcoin at a high price without understanding it, you're gonna have a hard time. And I also did that. I bought Bitcoin at $1,000 and it went back 200. I had to sell some. It's a painful lesson, but if you're just starting now, you're actually very lucky because there's a lot of history to look back into. There's a lot of lessons to learn from people that did the wrong things in the beginning. There is a lot of knowledge out there, a lot of brilliant people. That's one of the things that I'm really happy about today because a lot of very smart people, and you've interviewed several of them in this show.
One of them.
No, but those guys are like, I look up to them. They're really smart. They put into words the things that most people just kind of like think about, into really good concepts that you can understand. And it's not just about investing too. There's also like different avenues, different walks of life, different strategies, different ways of seeing it. It's all out there, and most of it is free. So learn about Bitcoin, learn about the network, learn about how it works. Actually, I always tell people, just learn about how the guts, the nuts and bolts of Bitcoin work. It's really mind blowing. You don't have to go far. You just have to understand how the difficulty adjustment works, how the blockchain works, how proof of work works. I've never seen someone who put the time and effort into studying it and really honestly learning about it, and then saying, "Oh, yeah, it sucks." Like you don't see a lot of former Bitcoiners in the banking industry. You know what I mean? Like it's usually the opposite, right? It's usually former bankers that are now Bitcoiners or crypto people. Strategies in investing, it's really hard. It depends on the person. I told you I even started experimenting with trading. That alone is also another thing. It's like a full-time thing. You can't just trade. You can't just, oh, I'm a trader. It has to be a thing that you focus on. Most people who have some kind of disposable income, I have a lot of friends that say, Miguel, I have $500. I want to buy Bitcoin. How do I do it? Or I want to save, I don't know, I have like $10,000 for my kid. He's 2 years old. I want him to have it when he's like, I want to buy Bitcoin and store it for him. Parang ganun. So you have that, right? I mean, my advice to them is if they're really close friends or there's someone that I trust, you have to just buy and store the Bitcoin. It's like when you buy an asset like real estate, for example. Sometimes you can just have a piece of land somewhere, and if the land is in a good location and it's there's a big demand in that area in the future, then the value will probably go up. Like Bitcoin is like real estate. It's like every UTXO in the blockchain is a real estate. There's only a number of UTXOs at any given time that will allow you to transact on the Bitcoin blockchain. So as time goes by and that becomes more scarce, it becomes harder to acquire that space in the blockchain, and the value of Bitcoin goes up because the way it works, right? Supply and demand. Supply doesn't change. The demand goes up. There's only one thing that can change. It's the price. So
got it. And if there's one thing that I got from what you said, hindi pala one thing, pero there's a lot of things that could be unpacked there. There could be a variety of reasons why people would stack or own Bitcoin, but what's very, very important is you need to know a lot about it first, not just what reasons people have on why they bought it, but it has to be your own personal reason, and knowing the technology behind it is what matters the most. I think what's interesting for people who are watching this, there's something that you can learn when you watch, but there's something also that you can learn when you hear someone who's from 2013, 10 years worth of doing this. That's something that's there's a wealth of wisdom that you can get also from experience na hindi mo mababasa sa libro or hindi mo papanood sa video or hindi mo makikita sa white paper ng Bitcoin also. So
Marvin, like honestly, I'm still learning. Like this, I still feel like a dude, in terms of, I think we still haven't grasped the full power, the full potential of what Bitcoin can do in terms of how we understand trade, how we understand ownership, how we understand trust, how we understand digital, money. So yeah, everyone, it's a never-ending learning curve. But as soon as you can embrace the price fluctuations and the volatility, it's just part of it. It's part of how it cannot grow without volatility.
And kaya ka mayaman. So so if you guys have questions, what I'll do is I'll put Miguel's Twitter link down below, and then you can send him a DM or you can just tweet him up if you have anything that you want to clarify further. So Miguel, thank you so much for joining us, and to everyone, I hope this video helps you trade well, trade strong, trade smart. See you all again soon. God bless you all.